And hello Year 9. So last lesson and the lesson before, we've been looking at tropical forests, also known as tropical rainforests. In today's lesson, we're going to look at deforestation. Now, deforestation happens in all types of forest. You'll remember that there is the boreal forest and the temperate forest from our lesson on different types of biomes. Well, we're looking at deforestation in tropical forests today. We are going to try to understand the extent of deforestation and why it happens. In later lessons, we're going to look at the impacts of deforestation. So, starting off with a quick quiz, you just need to write the answers down. So please pause and write down the answers to these 10 questions. 3, 2, 1, pause. And now I would like you to check your answers. So for number 1, the red pigment acts as a sunscreen to protect those young leaves from the harsh sunlight. Drip tips are the pointed ends on leaves that allow rain to fall off more easily. A good example would be the drip tip on a rubber plant. Number 3, the trees have a smooth bark so that the rain slides off quickly, so the tree doesn't get a fungal infection, which could damage or even kill the tree. Buttress roots are a type of adaptation that creates extra large roots above the ground to gather nutrients from the leaf litter layer because the soil is so poor. Number 5, an epiphyte is a plant that lives on a branch of a tree in the canopy instead of in the soil. It lives there because there is more light there and because there isn't such a great advantage of being in the soil as the soil doesn't have very many nutrients. So the epiphyte can take its nutrients from the air and the moisture around it. Examples of epiphytes for number 6, you could have any one of these, a liana, a bromeliad, or an orchid. Those 3 were mentioned in the lessons, and air plant is another example that I thought of that you might actually have at home. An air plant is a very nice looking little plant that you can have that doesn't require any soil, and you just mist it slightly. I've had a few air plants, but I've never managed to keep them alive for very long because, of course, my house isn't like the tropical rainforest. Number 7, a rubber tree or plant. Number 8, the pitcher plant has a specially adapted leaf that forms a tube called a pit trap filled with nectar and water that attracts insects and small animals. They get trapped there and they drown. Then their bodies dissolve and the plant absorbs the nutrients from them. Number 9, a bromeliad is a type of epiphyte. And number 10, adaptations are changes made to enable a plant or animal, it's just that we've been doing plants, to live in a specific environment. Now, here's a lot of questions again, but these questions you're going to answer by watching the clip, which I have also attached to Satchel 1, or your teacher has attached to Satchel 1 along with this lesson. It's quite a short clip, but you will need to pause it to write down the answers to these questions. So if you could write these questions down, leaving at least 1 line between each. You will only need possibly 2 lines maximum. So depending on whether you have small or large handwriting, you'll need 1 or 2 lines in between each of these questions. You'll want to pause in order to finish writing these questions down. 3, 2, 1, pause. And now, pause this video and go to the other link watch the What is Deforestation clip by One Tree Planted and answer questions as you watch. Then come back to this and I will give you the answers and take you further into deforestation. So I'll see you when you get back. Here are the answers from that video. Now, there was a lot of information in that video, but the answers that I would like to go through with you here, they all come up in the next few things that I'm talking about, actually. So if you would just like to pause and give yourself some ticks where you got these right, then we can go on to the rest of the lesson. Now then, you don't need to write this down, you just need to read it, look at the pictures and listen to me. So why does deforestation happen? Well, we saw in that video that the majority of deforestation is caused by agriculture. Agriculture means farming. Now, converting forest to pasture for beef cattle, mainly in Latin America this happens, so mainly in South America, is responsible for destroying 2.71 million hectares of tropical forest each year. This is more than half of all tropical deforestation in South America. I'd just like to remind you what a hectare is. A hectare is a unit of land that is 10 metres by 10 metres. So in other words, it's 100 metres squared. Every year, around 500,000 hectares is deforested in order to grow soybeans. Only about 6% of these soybeans are eaten directly by people, but the other 94% is also eaten by people, but indirectly, because it's used for animal feed in the production of meat products. So people who eat meat are also eating a lot of soybeans, but indirectly, weirdly. Another 500,000 hectares of forest is destroyed each year to grow palm oil. Palm oil is used in thousands of products that people all over the world use, including chocolate, soap, and cosmetics, for example. Palm oil gives things a shiny or slippery appearance or feel. So if you think about Easter eggs, for instance, Easter eggs as chocolate Easter eggs are often quite a shiny chocolate because that chocolate contains palm oil and it's used to make it look shiny and more attractive. Also, there are lots of things like shampoo or shower gel that have a sort of shimmer look to them. They look very attractive and they feel a bit more slippery because they've used palm oil in the production. The other reasons that deforestation is happening are mining, infrastructure and urban development. Over 1 million hectares of the Amazon rainforest have already been deforested in order to mine. The most common mineral to be mined is iron ore, which is used to make steel for cars, construction, buildings, aeroplanes and domestic appliances. Domestic appliances, I mean things like irons, microwaves, washing machines, that sort of thing. Now, this should make you think back, hopefully, a couple of lessons ago when we started talking about tropical rainforests and I showed you how poor the soil was. I told you that it's called latosol, but it has a red colour because of its high iron content. Well, the high iron content of the soil comes from the iron ore rock that's underneath the soil. So the soil is made out of the iron ore that's breaking down towards the surface of the ground. So if you clear away the forest and then clear away just the top soil, it's easy to get to the iron ore underneath. And iron ore is very valuable because we can make these things out of it. The world's largest iron ore mine is Carajás mine in Brazil. Building roads into tropical forests doesn't actually account for a huge amount of deforestation in itself. And I think you can see this nicely in the picture here. The actual road doesn't take up very many hectares, doesn't take up very much land. However, studies have shown that 95% of all deforestation occurs within 5 kilometres of a road or navigable river. That means a river that you can have a boat go up and down, a sizable boat. And again, on this picture, you can see that the areas of deforestation are right next to the road. Therefore, the road building programme has opened up the forests to other causes of deforestation, and it has allowed those causes to expand. I mean, these things go together. For instance, when mining for the iron ore, they need to be able to get the iron ore then from the mine to a factory to turn it from iron ore into iron and then into steel, and then they need to be able to ship that out somewhere to sell it. So this is going to require a lot of roads, and they're going to have to be quite big roads so that they can take large lorries. Another type of infrastructure development that causes deforestation is the building of dams and reservoirs. Now, infrastructure is a very important word in geography. Infrastructure is the stuff around us that connects buildings to each other, that connects energy to each other. It's the stuff that we need, like power and electricity, roads and railway, even things like broadband. That is an infrastructure. Well, dams like the Jirau Dam in the Brazilian Amazonia are used for hydroelectric power stations. Power stations like this happen inside the dam, but they need a lot of water behind because they open the gates and the water comes through the dam and it turns the turbines to generate electricity. That electricity is used in people's homes, but also it's used in factories. For instance, the iron ore smelting factory. Now, the people who work at these places, like the mines and the HEP stations, the hydroelectric power stations, they need to live somewhere, and this is miles away from anywhere. So people can't travel to and from work. They need to have a town nearby. Therefore, companies build towns in the rainforest too, like this town here at Belo Monte. That town is right next to another HEP station. Now this, of course, leads to even further deforestation. So we've seen how deforestation is caused by agriculture, mining, infrastructure, and even urban development, like the building of a town. Now, in an exam, this question, how does deforestation happen? Why does deforestation happen? Might be asked in a slightly different way. They might say, explain why deforestation occurs in tropical rainforests, or account for the high rates of deforestation in tropical areas. We saw a question with account for the other day in another lesson, and I said it means you've got to give reasons for. And it would be a 6-mark question. Now, 6-mark questions in exams are level marked. That means you don't need to give 6 points very briefly and you get a point for each, you get a mark for each point. What it means instead is that the examiner looks at your answer as a whole and they decide, is that basic, clear or detailed? Now, if it's a basic answer, it can't get above 2 marks. If it's a clear answer, but without any detail, it can't get it above 4. And if it's nice and detailed and clear, with all its points correct, then it could get up to maximum marks. Therefore, when you write your answer, you need to be aiming for a level 3, which means that you need to write clearly and include detail wherever possible. The sort of detail that we're looking for, things like statistics. For instance, what percentage of forest is deforested for such and such, whatever it may be? How many hectares is destroyed for whatever it is? And then some real examples of places. So if you're trying to explain that the production of electricity by hydroelectric dams causes deforestation, don't just say building a hydroelectric dam, say a hydroelectric dam such as the Jirau Dam in Brazilian Amazonia. That gives detail. So I would like you to pause and write your answer to this question, and I want you to aim for a level 3, please. If you aim for a level 3 and you get a level 2, then we will also consider that a success. But if you aim low, I think it's going to be really tricky to get higher. Whereas if we aim really high, the chances of great success are within your grasp. You will need to spend about 10 minutes on this, but you will probably want to go back in this video to look at parts of detail that you like to use. All right, pause and I'll come back in a moment. Well, by the magic of technology, I've already received 2 answers. I would like you to mark this answer, and really not how many marks, but what level would this one get? Let's read it through and decide. Deforestation is really bad. It's destroying all the forest and causing big problems for everyone just because of palm oil. Palm oil is used to make soaps and lipsticks, and it means that massive areas of forest are cut down every year. Another big reason that forests get cut down is because people build roads. There are lots of roads, and even one that goes all the way across the Amazon. The final reason behind deforestation is mining. Mining is done all over the rainforest, and it makes it look horrible. Now, what are you thinking? You might be thinking, that's not very good. But actually, there is nothing there that is incorrect. Every single bit of that is correct. It's a reasonable size. So if we're looking at it just like, well, it's a reasonably big size, there's nothing that's incorrect. We've got a few examples there. It says palm oil, it says soaps and lipsticks, so those are examples, aren't they? But they're not very specific examples. It's not really the detail that the answer actually wants. Although this is a passionate answer, which is not incorrect, I would still say that it's a basic answer. It doesn't clearly tell me the reasons behind deforestation, and it doesn't give any detail as in the places, the names of the places concerned. Also, there are no statistics in there, there are no numbers about what area of forest is being cut down. So, you decide how many marks before we go on to the next answer. And again, the magic of the internet has brought me answer 2. Let's see what you think. So even before reading it, I can tell there's more words in there, so perhaps it's better, but it all depends whether it's correct, doesn't it? And whether it's clear and whether it's detailed. The biggest cause of deforestation is agriculture. It accounts for around 85% of all deforestation, and the main types of agriculture that cause deforestation are cattle ranching and the growing of soybeans for cattle feed and palm oil for consumer products. Over 1 million hectares of rainforest are lost every year because of mining. such as the deforestation that has happened to make the Carajás iron ore mine in Brazil. Hydroelectric power stations require a dam to be built with a reservoir of water too. An example is the Jirau Dam in the Brazilian Amazon. This dam creates electricity for people's homes and factories, but infrastructure projects like this account for around 500,000 hectares of deforestation each year. Now, I wonder whether you think that that is level 1, 2 or 3. I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying it's definitely a level 2 or 3 answer. I would like you to type in the Q&A box what you think. Is it level 2 or a level 3? And you can even guess or work out how many marks you think it would get out of 6. If you think that is the perfect answer and they aren't missing anything at all, it's clear and it's detailed and it is enough to get 6 marks, then by all means give it 6, but up to you. So type in the Q&A box so that your teacher can see how many marks you think this answer gets. Then what I'd like you to do is have a look at your answer, and I would like you to improve it slightly if possible by putting a little bit more detail in, and to read it back with fresh eyes to see whether it is clear. Is it clear the main reasons for deforestation? And have you given a specific example? Have you given more than one specific example, if possible? Take a moment to do that before we move on. Right, well done for all your work this lesson. There's been a lot to do and we've learned a lot about deforestation. As you can see from this picture, deforestation is literally a scar on the earth. It is a bad thing. However, not all the impacts of deforestation are bad. There are some positive impacts and some negative impacts, and we're going to look at both of those in next week's lesson. So, thank you very much indeed for following along with this lesson and for all the work that you've done.